an explosion in downtown Kyiv. I'll tell you what is known about the incident later in the broadcast. I'm Solomia Vitvitska and this is TSN. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the broadcast, and be sure to comment on what you found most interesting. Next, a few topics from today's broadcast. Putin is an aggressor, so Europe and NATO need to unite.
I'm ready to impose sanctions, but they will also have to strengthen their sanctions in line with what I'm doing.
What other steps is Trump demanding from the allies? The number of people injured as a result of the overnight attack on Kramatorsk has increased. There are already 15 of them. How is the city recovering after the Russian shelling? The head of the regional military administration posted the video on his page. Late in the evening, the Russians dropped 4 FAB-250 aerial bombs on the city. More than 30 apartment buildings, 3 educational institutions, administrative buildings, a bank, and shops were damaged. And before that, the city endured 4 drone attacks, during which a gas station and vehicles were damaged. The local authorities are urging Kramatorsk residents to evacuate.
The neighbors were affected. 2 days before that, my relatives were evacuated. My grandmother she lived with us on the same floor. We had just taken her out, and now we've gotten in touch. And I'm also getting materials for them to board up the windows. We're getting ready to leave because it's becoming very dangerous in the city all the time. Drones are attacking everything from gas stations to civilian buildings. It's very dangerous. We are planning to evacuate.
In the Sumy region, the air raid alert lasted almost a whole day. There are 13 wounded there. The Russians struck an agricultural enterprise in the Boromlyanska community with 2 missiles. 12 workers who were harvesting crops in the field were injured. One of them is in serious condition. 3 dozen combines, tractors, and trucks were destroyed. There are also victims in Bilopilia. Homes, civilian infrastructure, and equipment were also damaged in 4 other communities in the region. And in Kherson, in the morning, the Russians scattered petal anti-personnel mines. Explosive ordnance disposal experts neutralized them. A man was killed in Berislav. The occupiers dropped explosives on him from a drone. 4 rescuers and a civilian were wounded in Chernihiv region. The occupiers targeted Nizhyn district with drones. A fire broke out at a critical infrastructure facility. When the firefighters arrived to extinguish the fire, the Russians struck again. 4 firefighters were hospitalized. A resident of one of the villages was also injured. In Zaporizhzhia region, the occupiers attacked a minibus carrying people with an FPV drone. There is 1 wounded. One of the communities was left without power as a result of the strikes. In the Huliaipol community, the enemy attacked 2 pensioners with a drone. 1 was killed. The suburbs of the regional center were also affected during the night. 59 enemy drones were shot down or suppressed by Ukrainian air defense last night. This was reported by the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In total, Ukraine was attacked by 84 strike UAVs of various types, including Shahed and Geran drones. Ukrainian forces destroyed more than 2/3 of them. The enemy also used 3 S-300 surface-to-air guided missiles launched from the Kursk and Belgorod regions. The air attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare and drone units, as well as mobile fire groups of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. The Defense Forces have liberated the village of Pankivka in Donetsk region. It is located 18 kilometers from Dobropilya. The Russians have transferred 4 infantry brigades and 1 marine regiment to this area. However, units of the armed forces and the National Guard are holding them back. The occupiers have also regrouped and are trying to break through to Siversk. They are advancing in small groups and looking for gaps in the Ukrainian defense, according to the 54th Separate Mechanized Brigade named after Hetman Ivan Mazepa. At present, a gray zone has formed on the approaches to the city. However, Ukrainian defenders say this actually helps to detect the enemy more quickly and destroy them. Over the past day, the occupiers tried to reach the city 25 times, but failed to do so. The enemy has also intensified offensive actions in the Kharkiv region. In the Kupiansk direction, they are assaulting the positions of our defenders in the areas of Kindrativka, Kupiansk, Pishchane, and Borivska Andriivka. They often do this on motorcycles. However, attempts at a rapid breakthrough are currently being stopped. Over the past day, our fighters repelled 9 such attacks, and our soldiers also fought off the enemy about 40 more times in the Novopavlivka and Lyman directions. However, the hottest section of the front traditionally remains the Pokrovsk direction, where nearly 60 assaults took place over the past day. American officers arrived with an unexpected visit to the Russian-Belarusian military exercises. The Belarusian Ministry of Defense released a video showing 2 high-ranking military officials greeting the local head of the department, Viktor Krenin, and all of this was presented as a surprise. In addition, Ukrainian himself assured the Americans that they could see everything they were interested in. The statement from the Belarusian Ministry of Defense notes that representatives from other NATO member countries, such as Hungary and Turkey, are also present at the training. Reuters agency describes the presence of U.S. officers as a sign of warming relations between Washington and Belarus. After several rounds of negotiations with Minsk and a personal phone conversation with Lukashenko, Donald Trump expressed his desire to restore the work of the U.S. Embassy in Belarus. The exercise, called West 2025, began last Friday, and they even plan to test the notorious Oreshnik missile and other nuclear weapons there. The drill seriously alarmed NATO countries that border the aggressors, and especially against the backdrop of the incident when Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace and had to be shot down. Warsaw even decided to close the borders and asked the alliance to increase its military presence along the frontier. For the first time since the full-scale invasion, US President Donald Trump has called Russia the aggressor in the war against Ukraine. Speaking to reporters the day before, he said that 8,000 people had died in the war over the course of a week. More from the Russian side, because literally when you are the aggressor, you lose more. Trump reiterated his call for NATO countries to stop buying Russian oil. He said that then, together, they would be able to put pressure on Putin. Later, he expanded his call to not buy anything from Russia, whether it's liquefied gas or cigarettes. End of quote. The US president published his letter urging NATO not to buy Russian oil and to impose additional tariffs on China last weekend. He says some have already responded to him. He claims that alliance partners will not deny that he is right. But for now, the discussions are ongoing.
They are not doing the job.
They are not doing their job. NATO needs to unite. Europe needs to unite and do it. Listen, Europe, they are my friends, but they are buying oil from Russia. So we can't be expected to be the only ones acting at full strength. And Europe is buying oil from Russia. I don't want them to buy oil. And the sanctions that have already been imposed are not tough enough. I'm ready to impose sanctions, but they will also have to strengthen their sanctions in line with what I'm doing.
Chervona Ruta is 55. The most recognizable Ukrainian song, often called the unofficial anthem, was first performed in Chernihiv in September 1970. The author, medical student Volodymyr Ivasyuk, wrote and refined it for almost 3 years before he dared to present it to the public, as a true immortal hit was born from a Hutsul legend. TSN correspondent Alapas will tell you more.
Tell me, where did you get that magic? Without you, every day I am captive to sorrow. This song is recognized from the very first chords. It is sung at weddings and on the front lines when you want to dance and when your heart is breaking from pain. Chervona Ruta is one of the first songs by Volodymyr Ivasyuk, a medical student from Bukovina.
We are in Volodymyr Ivasyuk's office, where you can see many of his personal belongings.
In the apartment in the center of Chernihiv, where Volodymyr Ivasyuk lived, there is now a museum. Ivasyuk learned about the mystical flower that brings love, the red rue, from this thick book of kolomnikas that belonged to his father.
Oh, Hilda mother walked and talked. She gathered magic herbs to enchant me. She gathered magic herbs, the red rue, and wanted to cast a spell on me, a poor orphan. Volodymyr Ivasyuk was captivated by these lines and began searching for the legend of the red rue flower, because usually it blooms yellow.
Ivasyuk spent almost 3 years writing and rewriting his Chervona Ruta.
At first he envisioned it as a ballad, but something about it didn't sit right with him, so he kept reworking and refining it. He was very demanding of himself.
It wasn't until he finally dared to show the finished song to Vasil Strikovic, the sound engineer of the program, Tuning Fork of Good Mood. The backing track was recorded at night. They only managed to get it right on the 12th take. Chernihiv, Theatrical Square, September 13th, 1970. It was right here, live on television, that the song Chervona Ruta was performed for the first time. Volodymyr Ivasyuk himself, together with Olena Kuznetsova, a student at the local music college.
I remember the atmosphere. My parents were very anxious because it was going to be a live broadcast on television. Their son was going to sing his own song.
At the time, Ms. Oksana, Ivasyuk's youngest sister, was only 10 years old. But the older sister, Halia, recalled that they already knew the song was a success even before its premiere, judging by the neighbors' reactions.
When Chervona Ruta was being written, we lived in a house with an Italian-style courtyard where everyone actually communicated very closely. And of course, the gentle sounds of the melodies would drift into this small courtyard. And Halia, my older sister, said that the residents of the building would often pick up and sing along to the well-known song, Chervona Ruta.
The morning after the live broadcast, Volodymyr Ivasyuk woke up famous. The following year, the first Ukrainian musical would be filmed based on Chervona Ruta. And just a few months later, it became famous throughout the entire Soviet Union.
It was a hit, as they say. They always asked for Ukrainian songs. They loved Ukrainian music. We always sang. There were a lot of Ukrainian songs in our repertoire, especially Chervona Ruta.
The song outlived its author. 9 years after its premiere, Volodymyr Ivashuk was found hanged in a forest near Lviv. And several decades later, the reopened investigation completely refuted the suicide theory. At that time, the Lviv prosecutor's office stated that Soviet special services, which were destroying everything Ukrainian, were involved in the murder. But to this day, those responsible for his death have not been officially named. In a short 30 years, Ivashuk wrote over 100 popular songs. How many more could he have created?
We all need to work day and night for victory. I think that's what he would have said. We need to write more songs so that they bring victory. That's what he would have said.
His Chervona Ruta is already working for victory. A phenomenal song that has become a national symbol. A song by which Ukrainians recognize their own all over the world. With it, people go out to the Maidans, with it they fight, and with it they will surely win. Don't look for the red roux in the evenings, please, I ask you. You are my only one, the only person who truly matters to me. Only you, believe me, only you. Because your beauty, your unique and incomparable beauty, is beyond words. Is like pure clear water. Is like the swift flowing water of the beautiful blue mountains. Humpurururu. Alapas, Dimitrofurdak, Roman Duchak, TSN 1+1.